Do you use webinars or video to promote your products or services? Do you want to increase the number of people who buy from your webinars without having to do more work? If the answer is yes, then this video is for you. I'm Sheridan, and I'm about to share with you one simple strategy that can increase the number of people who buy from your webinars or videos without you having to do more work. In this video, I'm going to introduce a simple strategy that can increase the number of people who buy your product or service as a result of your webinars. Now, there are lots of strategies you can use to achieve this, but I'm focusing on this particular one for a couple of important reasons. First, because although live webinars are one of the best ways to convert members of your audience into actual buyers, one of the big problems is that a high proportion of people who register for webinars don't show up. Second, this strategy is not only an effective way to follow up with people who don't attend live webinars, it's easy to do. Third, you can outsource this strategy and it can pay for itself almost immediately. Not only that, but you'll have an asset you can repurpose and repackage however you want to. You can give it away for free or repackage it into a product you can charge for. Finally, I'll show you an example of such an asset based on this actual presentation. In the next few minutes, I'll show you who can use this strategy, outline the 3 factors you can increase to make more money from the same webinar, reveal this easy strategy to you, explain why it works, and if you're not already using this strategy, show you how you can start using it right away. If you use webinars or video to educate people or to sell products or services, either your own or as an affiliate for someone else, then you can use this strategy. If you're a non-fiction author, teacher, trainer, coach, consultant, entrepreneur or service professional or business owner, webinars can help you reach large audiences of people interested in what you have to offer, be it books, training courses, coaching, advice, consultancy, software, or whatever you provide. And they allow you to generate income in a very short time, quite literally in around 60 minutes, which is how long most webinars last. To use this strategy, first you need a webinar, preferably one that already converts well. If you don't have a webinar, or have one that isn't converting as well as you'd like, there's a resource page over at easyreplaySales.com that might help. Once you have a webinar that works well, you can start to look at ways to increase the revenue you can generate as a result. So, to set this in context, let's assume for a moment that you have designed a free-to-attend 60-minute webinar. At the end, you offer a training course priced at $297. If your webinar converts at 5%, which is much higher than most websites, then for every 100 people who show up for your webinar, you would expect 5 of them to buy your course. If 100 people attend, you would make $1,485 in sales. If the same webinar was to convert at a higher and more typical rate of 10% and 100 people attend, then you would expect 10 of them to buy your course, netting you $2,970 in sales. To make more money from the same webinar in that same hour, there are really only 3 factors you can increase: your offer's price, the number of people who attend your webinar, and the conversion rate. Tempting as it may sound, however, to simply repeat your live webinar, there are some drawbacks to doing this, including webinar fatigue and the drive to stop trading time for money that may have you searching for alternative ways to earn as much, if not more, in less time. So, how can you do the same? Many webinar experts suggest a number of steps to increase the value of your sales from each live webinar based on one or more of the 3 factors: your offer price, number of attendees, and conversion rate. I'm going to run through these steps very briefly because if you want to, you can implement these in addition to the strategy I'm going to share in a moment. Step 1. Start with a minimum product or service value, such as $297. If you're going to invest time, effort and energy into creating a webinar, it has to be worth it to you financially, even if only a few people buy. Step 2. Refine and test different versions of your webinar until your conversion rate increases to 10%. Then raise the price. For example, if you initially charged $297, try pricing your product or service at $497. Then repeat step 2. Step 4. Get more traffic to your webinar. Most webinar hosts can accommodate more than 100 people on any single webinar. Some can take 1,000 or more. With a 5% conversion rate and a $297 offer price, if you can get 1,000 people to show up, that's now 50 sales, or $14,850 in revenue you could be making on each webinar. Increase the conversion rate to 10%, the same number of people, and that's 100 sales at $297, or $29,700, or $49,700 if you've repeated step 2 and raised the price already. These strategies have worked well and continue to work well. However, it takes time and effort to refine and test a webinar. You may have to rethink your offer or change it several times if you want to increase the perceived value sufficiently to raise the asking price for your product or service and still get people to buy. Then there's traffic. The big players in internet marketing may be able to sustain audiences of 1,000 people every time, but for the majority it's hard going to get that many people just to sign up for a webinar, let alone get that many to attend. So what's the solution? Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't do whatever you can to maximize the steps and techniques outlined above in your own business. In fact, I strongly encourage you to try them, because by implementing even one of these steps, you could increase your webinar revenue dramatically. But the strategy I want to share with you here is one that can run in addition to or alongside these steps and techniques. It's easy to implement, yet can still boost your revenue quickly and sustainably. One of the easiest and most productive strategies is to focus on the people who sign up for your webinar, but who, for one reason or another, don't show up for your presentation. Now, you may be asking, if people don't show up, why should I bother? Quite simply because there are usually too many to ignore. ON24's 2017 Webinar Benchmark Report suggests 55 to 65% of people who register for webinars fail to show up. That's roughly 5 to 7 out of every 10 people who sign up for webinars. Although it may not feel like it, this is actually good news. Why? Because if someone registered for your webinar, they were interested enough at the time to learn more about what you have to offer. And if they registered, you should have their email address, meaning it is within your power to follow up with these potential buyers. There are several ways you can do this. This is just one, but it can be very effective, and I'll explain why in just a moment. What you do is follow up with show notes. Show notes, in case you're not familiar with them or know them by a different name, are written summaries, usually as a PDF, that capture both audio and visual elements of webinars or video training. Here's an example based on the presentation you're experiencing now, so everyone watching will have a shared reference point. Unlike transcripts, which are typewritten versions of spoken words, and so only focus on the audio elements of your webinar or video, with show notes, you can include screenshots and other visual images too. Another thing that can make show notes like these very effective from your reader's perspective is the way they are written. Here, the style and tone has been carefully chosen to read as if someone you know and trust attended the presentation in your place and made notes you could follow easily. Providing show notes gives you another opportunity to present your offer and make sales on autopilot without you being there. While I don't have exact figures to show you how well this strategy works, many six-figure internet marketers consistently use this follow-up strategy, so you can pretty much guarantee it makes them money, or they wouldn't do it. And if it works for them, it can work for you too, no matter what business you're in or whatever product or service you promote with your webinars. Here are some of the reasons why show notes work and how they can help you make sales. Good show notes help people make the decision to buy from you because they keep the same structure and tone as your webinar presentation. Webinars work because they take your prospective buyer on a structured path from start to finish. Good show notes replicate that process. They follow the same trail, tell the same stories, and present your offer just as you would. They can include customer testimonials and results, answers to frequently asked questions people raise during your webinar, other information you want your readers to know, but they may not have asked, such as guarantees, and any information about your refund policy. But my personal favourite reason is because you can add clickable links to your offer on practically every page. So when your reader is ready to buy from you, your offer is right there in front of them. They can go straight to your sales page or buy button. If you're a coach or consultant, they could go direct to your calendar to book an appointment or sign up for your program. Show notes are also great for potential buyers who need a little more time to think about your offer, but not too much. Set a clear deadline when your offer will expire. Some prefer to read rather than watch or listen to a video. Others may have missed vital information during the presentation. Reading allows people to slow your presentation down or speed it up according to their needs, meaning they can absorb your material at their own pace. This strategy is also useful to follow up with people who did attend your webinar but didn't buy at the time. The reasons for this might include technical glitches during the presentation, people having to leave partway through, or perhaps even because they couldn't make notes quickly enough and may have missed important details about your offer. Show notes are especially helpful if a presentation is technical or complex, if it contains a lot of facts and figures. Maybe you include website, product or software demonstrations that can be quite difficult for people to follow, or needs lengthy or complex explanations. Show notes don't have to be expensive to create. If you have the skills, you can make them yourself, but it's easy enough to have someone create them for you professionally, and you can recoup your investment surprisingly quickly. Let's say you have a 60-minute webinar that sells a $297 product. The show notes cost you $250 from an outsourcer. In that case, you only need to make one additional sale to recoup your investment. One sale, ever, and you'd still make $47 profit from that one sale. Naturally, if your product or service sells for more than $297, you'll make more profit from someone who didn't show up for your live webinar. So if we take the survey I mentioned earlier as a benchmark, that's just one out of the potential 55 to 65 people in each 100 who register but don't show up. So here's my question for you. Of all the people who register for your webinars but don't show up, how many do you think you could convert into buyers using this one simple strategy? Another 2, 3, 5, 10, maybe more? And what would those extra sales be worth to you, both in the short term and from future sales you can now make to your new customers? As with anything, there are no guarantees that you will make any more sales as a result. But if you're ready to create an asset you can use immediately and in any way you wish, why not take advantage of our show notes creation service to help you get started quickly? All our show notes are presented in a clear, consistent, professional format, delivered to you as a PDF. Add your logo, branding, and clickable links to redirect your readers to your sales pages, offers, or anywhere you want. So why not order your show notes today at easyreplaySales.com/PDF now. Thanks for listening, and here's to your webinar show notes success.